everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Rosie and we are in a new setting. This is my first sit down video in my new university accommodation, so it feels a little bit different, but I'm still on my bed. For those of you who don't know me, I graduated from Oxford University in 2019 and I am now on a master's course with a full scholarship at Cranfield University doing forensic archaeology and anthropology. I have written my fair share of personal statement drafts. I've also written scholarship applications, so I've had a whole lot of experience, as well as doing mentoring and one-on-one sessions and all of the things like at the conferences, helping people, talking about their personal statement. And so I thought I would bring all of my expertise to you. Anyone who has watched my channel for a while will know that I am a sucker for mnemonics. Specifically for personal statements, I have come up with YCSS, or you can slay this statement. Now YCSS stands for you, course, supercurriculars and structure, and these are four things that you need to remember when writing and planning your statement, if you want your statement to slay, that is. They aren't really in any particular order, and to be honest they come very much intertwined, you know, they all lead into each other, but I thought you'd remember them more easily if they were in a mnemonic. I know that's how my brain works anyway. I am going to go through them in order though, just so your brain can keep the YCSS order going, but like I said, you'll come to notice they are all very much intertwined. So first off, you. This is your statement. It should celebrate you and your achievements. It's a personal statement. Don't be talking about things your parents have done or things your teachers have done. You want to talk about what you have done. At the very centre of this statement needs to be kind of an in-depth discussion really of how you relate to the course. What is your relationship to the course or courses that you're applying for? I'll talk more about this when we actually move on to course, but already you can see that they're very much interrelated. Your statement should also be talking about what you specifically can bring to the table, so any particular ideas you might have for future research with the university, how can you benefit the department with ideas that you've had already, and any skills that you have that could benefit the department. So is there a particular research interest that you want to explore? Do you like a certain topic that you might want to take into postgraduate research? You do not have to be certain about this by any means, but it does show some enthusiasm and kind of forward thinking. Just be careful that if you do mention a topic you really enjoy, that you actually do enjoy it and do some wider reading on it in case it's brought up at interview. So moving on to course, this is what I was talking about your relationship to the course, and this is also kind of 100% how I would start to plan my statement based upon how I relate to my course. So I did this for my master's personal statement because that's what I learned it for. I hadn't really grasped it yet for my undergrad, so hopefully you can learn from me here. Your relationship to the course could be anything from a specific topic or chosen area that excites you most, any work experience that you've done relating to the course, why your A-levels relate to the course, what transferable skills have they given you that will help with the course, and this particular tip was recommended to me by an Oxford outreach team in 2015, I think. I was at a little conference and they said that they really value you talking about why you chose your A-levels. Why will they help your course? What did you learn that will help? And finally, is there a specific reason why you want to study this course in particular? So on this slide, you can see how I've highlighted several sections where I'm talking about how I think any experience that I've had will be specifically beneficial to the university. So in blue, I've pointed out that my experience as head of student council might help the students' union. I've in orange talked about how my experience on NCS and coaching will help me give presentations and lead group projects, and also finally I have talked about my goals of completing postgraduate research in a very particular topic within archaeology. It's perfectly normal to change your mind on your future once you're at uni, but you do need to show the admissions tutors that at least in this moment in time, the field you're applying for is your end goal. Once again, here is my master's personal statement. I'm just showing you again how I've talked about research that I've done previously and why I brought that up. So I specifically talked about how this research that I've done might be useful when I get to Cranfield to help with my individual project, which is like my dissertation. So moving on to opening your personal statement. Now this I think is the hardest thing to do. I'm pretty sure I wrote my opening last and changed it about 6 or 7 times. It was really difficult. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what anyone wanted. Let's just do a quick do's and don'ts. So you do want to make sure you understand all of the words you are using. If you use big fancy words but don't understand them, there is no point because you might be using them wrong. Do find a quote if you're using a quote from a less well-known figure, but make sure they're relevant to your course. Conversely, using cliche quotes from like motivational speeches or really famous people in your field will just be overdone. Loads of people will have done it before and it won't be anything new or unique to you. Do come in straight to the point. Why do you want to study this subject? There's no point waffling around or talking about the fact that your mum did it 20 years ago or your dad told you about doctors. They don't want to know about your family members, they want to know about you. So do choose a particular area of the course and explain why this is interesting to you, because if you choose a particular area of the course, it's already showing that you've got wider reading because you know what you want to talk about, you know what you want to study already. You're not just saying archaeology is great. Don't choose an overcomplicated quote from a book that you can't properly explain the relevance of. If you're using a quote from a book, make sure that you then explain why you've chosen it, otherwise it's pointless. Choose an interesting sentence type, but don't have a really long-winded sentence because it's the least snappy opening possible. And finally, do not forget this is your personal statement. It needs to come straight from you. That means no plagiarism. So here's just some cliche statement openings that you really don't want to use. Passionate is a word that is you definitely don't want to use that because they want you to show that you're passionate. In order to show them, you talk about things you've read or things you've done, a particular topic that you like. That shows passion. Don't use sentences such as for as long as I can remember or ever since I was a child or at 5 or 6 years old. You need to keep it to kind of the last 3 years, maybe 5 at a push, but I would really keep it to the last couple of years. And as you can see here, again, don't talk about your family in the first sentence, or just the most basic, I am applying for this course because. This is my own personal statement opening, and to be honest, it's not brilliant, but it's also not bad, and I have definitely made sure that I've related the quote to why I want to study the subject personally. So I went with choosing a quote because I did not have a clue how else to open my personal statement. I thought it looked clever, and it's not bad. You know, I talked about the quote, it is a lot of words, I probably could have used less words, but then I've gone straight into talking about why it's important. So archaeological discoveries, such as those made by Johansen and Leakey, are what drive my interest in understanding human evolution and civilization. If I had said archaeological discoveries such as those made by Johansen and Leakey are what drive my interest in understanding archaeology, it is not as complex and it does not show my passion because it just looks like a cliche sentence. You know, I'm applying for archaeology, so I've just used the word archaeology. It doesn't look as interesting or that I am as interested as if I specifically mention an area of archaeology that interests me most. Plus, if you choose a very specific area, this makes your statement unique to you and also allows in an interview, if you get one, for them to kind of tailor it to your interests. Just make sure you back up anything with evidence. So for example, what I've underlined in red is the evidence of what I've done that shows that I'm interested in civilization and human evolution. We're moving on now to the S in YCSS, which is supercurriculars. Supercurricular activities are those that take the subjects you study further, beyond that which your teacher has taught you or what you've done for homework. And this is taken from the University College Oxford website, and it essentially means things that you have done that go above and beyond. So if you've done biology as an A-level, what have you done extra to push you above everyone else? Have you read something in particular? Have you written an article? Have you done an extra experiment? Doing some work experience? If you chose to do history, have you then gone above and beyond by visiting some sites that interest you? Have you written something to do with them? You know, it's extra things that you've done, and these can be both about your A-level subjects and your subject that you're studying for your degree. The best ones combine the two. So the best ones will be any extracurricular from your A-level subject that can then be applied to your degree subject, because then you are really linking them together and proving why you chose what you did and that they facilitate your interest in this course. So your statement should be 80% academic and 20% extracurricular. The supercurriculars come under the 80%, but also that extra 20% is better being supercurricular. The way you can make extracurriculars such as D.A.V., National Citizen Service, you know, any volunteering that you've done that isn't directly relevant to your course, the way you can make those supercurricular is by talking about skills that can be applied. So, you know, before I was talking about how National Citizen Service would benefit my course because it gave me presentation skills. That kind of turns it into a sort of supercurricular because I have explained what skill I learned and why it will help my course. This 80% academic though should really be things such as prizes you've won, awards you've won, any relevant books or articles you might have read that were particularly interesting, why they were interesting, any relevant work experience, any research papers you might have written, and also talking about your current subjects. So here's some snippets from my personal statement. This is my undergraduate application for Oxford. So I've talked about a summer school I went on, the Unique Summer School, which is a free one, and if you haven't heard about that, I would Google that after this kind of little mini lecture thingy. I've then talked about why that supercurricular has helped me for my degree, what skills it gave me. So I've talked about working independently to deadlines and confidence. I've also talked about my hands-on experience in fieldwork. So for archaeology, this is really important because it is a big part of the subject. I've been quite specific as well, so I've talked about who it was with. If you've done something with a university, that can really help your case because, you know, it's academic, you've worked sort of with academia already. Now the bottom one is particularly important because I have linked my study at AS with a supercurricular and then subsequently applied that to my chosen course for degree. So I've said studying biology at AS level has also meant that I can appreciate the importance of scientific methods in archaeology. So that is why I chose biology, how it can help. For example, and here's the supercurricular, in The Incredible Unlikeliness of Being by Alice Roberts, she explains that protein and genome analysis can be used to investigate homology of past and present animals. So there is my direct link that picks out a very specific part of the book that's interested me, that links both to biology and archaeology. And then I've put a final little sentence that quickly explains my EPQ, and you don't actually have to fully explain your EPQ. Maybe you found something particularly interesting, however I hadn't actually started mine yet at this point, so I just said, you know, I'm beginning one. And then in the interview, I think 2 out of my 3 interviews picked up on my EPQ and asked me what I was going on to study with it. And again, here is my master's personal statement. So I've just pointed out here that reading an article has been my supercurricular activity. In red, I have scribbled out some stuff because it talks about the research and I didn't know if I was allowed to share it publicly. But then again, in yellow, I've talked about why this might be important. So I'd be interested to see how this method may aid forensics work, and I would be keen to apply it in Cranfield once I get here. So I've explained how it's applicable to my course and also how I'm interested to further the research with the department, which does excite universities because if you've come up with something kind of new or that builds on previous research and they can get their name on it, then they're going to want you. Moving on to structure. Structure is so important. Something's going down. Anyway, when structuring your personal statement, you want to treat it like an essay, not a description. So what I mean by this is using your PEE paragraphs, so point, evidence, explain. So here's just a little snippet of my undergraduate personal statement, sort of explaining what I'm talking about it being an essay, not a description. So this paragraph is pretty much all trying to justify why I chose to do textiles and relating my study of textiles to archaeology. So I haven't just, used I to start sentences. I've tried to show off my writing ability and really backed up my points. So I've said, as well as literature, which is actually how I finished my previous paragraph, so I've linked them together, I'm interested in historical architecture, art and fashion, and how textile analysis and knowledge of artistic methods provides archaeological information. So this is actually something I learned at an open day I'd been to at Nottingham. I had no idea that textile analysis was a thing, but I watched a lecture on it at their open day, and I haven't actually referenced that properly. Maybe I should have. I think I probably did and then realised I had no word count left. But either way, I've sort of engaged with that topic and then moved on to talk about places I'd visited, and then linked those two sentences together by saying I'd drawn those buildings for my textiles project, and also justified that again by saying I'm exploring architecture from different times in history, which I was. Here we also have a quick sentence just really hammering down why observational drawing, I think, is needed in archaeology, why it's a skill that I need to use. So I've talked about recording archaeological finds and then also moved on to talk about fieldwork. So all there, everything I've done backs up me. It backs up my choices. It justifies why I've chosen what I've chosen. So as I quickly briefly mentioned, you also want to make it flow. And here, as you can see, I've also done that in my master's personal statement. So I've just highlighted kind of pairs where they flow together. So in the top one, I've talked about my professional career and then started the next line with my professional career. In the blue one, I've talked about research in this paragraph and started the next one with my research experience so far. Then I've got the pink one, so this one isn't quite as direct. Talked about undergraduate exams and kind of undergraduate assessment, and then started the next paragraph with in the summer following my undergraduate exams. So it's a sort of link, but at least makes it flow and it's chronological and it makes sense. Sentence structure is another important part of structure, so you want to cut the academic talk and long-winded sentences. Experiment with short sentences for effect, but don't overdo it, so don't use loads. Less is more, and make sure you have used punctuation correctly. That is really important. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope that it has helped you, given you a bit of insight. If you want to watch this as the live version that I did with Manny on Empowered by V, then it is on her channel. She's uploaded the whole thing. It's all free, you can go and watch it. And if you have any questions about writing personal statements, let me know in the comments. I hope you all have the best day and go off and use all of this information that you've learned to write the best personal statement possible and get into all of the unis that you apply to, or at least the one that you really want. I will see you in my next video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, because engagement just makes my day and also helps the videos get shared on the algorithm. See you later. Bye!